Hello, everyone, and welcome to those on the replay. We are just tuning in. I've asked everyone to please drop where they're tuning in from and what cycle day they're on. Hey, welcome, and hello to everyone on the replay. I'm so excited to have you here with me. We have such a jam-packed evening together. So let's just get started. I would really like you guys to just take a moment to just close your eyes and just tune in and really just what was your intention for signing up to this workshop? What was your intention for being here? What was the sensation that came up in your body? What was the desire that came up when you signed up? And what sensation in your body did that connect to? Really, for most of us, it must be the sense of freedom, the sense of, okay, well, I'm a busy woman and I want to learn how to live more in connection with my cycle. And so that sensation underneath for most of you, I'm sure, comes from that deep desire for freedom, for ease, for bliss, for relaxation, right? I'm sure a lot of you can really resonate with that because there's nothing worse than hustle energy for the female body. There's nothing worse for the female body, for the hormones, for the womb, than this overwhelm of to-do lists and people to take care of and, a million other things to do other than focusing on. And so that's really what we're here to do today, is to learn how we can really start to focus on ourselves, focus more on our own energy, and really just focus on being in connection to our bodies, being a sensual and relaxed woman without needing to spend hours and hours and hours on self-care, because who the fuck has time for like 5 hour self-care sessions per day? No, not me, not me. I don't know about y'all, but not me. Um, and so today we're just going to work through a quick structure. I'm going to introduce you to my why, my vision, my mission, how we can start healing our womb, how we can live cyclically, and how we can start to implement these tips. Okay. So some of you may or may not know my story, and I'm just going to quickly share it with you because it's quite a deep one. And my story, my spiritual awakening, really is so deeply linked to my womb healing story. I started my period at the age of 13. I was very, very depressed. Sorry, I had very, very bad PMS. I was super moody. I was really all over the show, erratic, manic depressive. Really, even my school grades would show this massive, intense time of PMS. And during my period, I would get like significantly lower grades. And so it was really such a crazy time for me. I had no tools to be able to manage these overwhelm of emotions and of experiences that I was going through. And so I was put on the pill at the age of 15. I then was on the pill for 7 years. And I was really, towards the end of coming on the pill, I was so depressed. I was so anxious. I was so disconnected from my body. But I had no idea that I was actually I had no idea that this is how I felt. I just thought that, like, depression is normal, anxiety is normal, feeling exhausted is normal. We normalize all these symptoms, right? And it was only in 2019 when I had a health crisis that I kind of woke up to like what the fuck is going on in my body. You know, I went to the gynecologist and she did a scan and she was like, "Oh, babes, you have a 5 by 5 centimeter cyst on your ovary." And I was like, "What are you talking about? I thought I was like a healthy, normal girl, right?" And then I went back a few weeks later and she was like, "Nope, we have to operate you right now. I'm booking you in for surgery. This is like serious. It needs to come out right now." And so this was really shocking for me because I really thought that I was this healthy girl. I was sporty. I ate, really well. Like there was nothing obviously wrong with me. And so in July 2019, I had this operation, and one thing led to another. After this operation, I realized like how much of my life, the last 7 years, I'd spent ignoring my womb, hadn't bled for 7 years, really just taking this pill every single day, not thinking about the deeper impact that it was having on my body, on my mental health, on my emotional health, and on my deep connection to myself. And so after this operation, I started to go into this depth and really had one of the darkest nights of soul of my life. um it was really 8 months of doing deep internal work, really just like working with my trauma, working with my inner child, working with my body, and realizing like how deeply disconnected I'd been from my feminine energy, from my body, from my womb. And so 6 months later, I was able to finally come off the pill because I wasn't able to at that moment in time because of how dysregulated I was, right? And I didn't want to tip the balance even more. And so what happened was I then started my red tent journey, and I also got a copper IUD in. And then I started my red tent healing journey. And 2 months later, I was able to get back my period, my natural cycle, after doing all these really deep feminine embodiment, energetic practices, working with my womb, meditating with my womb, working in sisterhood, in community, in circle, and really just cathartically working with my body and working with what was present, right? I then went on this deep journey for another 2 years, but I still had this IUD inside of me. And what was happening was every time my partner and I, my ex, and I would be intimate, he would touch the strings and it would send shockwaves of pain into my uterus. And so for 2 years, I couldn't be intimate without being disassociated, numb, drunk, high, all these things. And so it made me realize like women are we so easily to negotiate our pain because we're so programmed to believe that death is painful, birth is painful, periods are painful, life is painful, sex is painful, and that's just what being a woman is, right? Being intimate with pain. And we're so often gaslit by doctors and gynies that we just must suck it up and take a pill and get on with our life. And I realized that for 2 years, I had been negotiating my own pleasure and giving up my own experience of pleasure for the sake of this pain. And I finally decided enough is enough. I'm getting rid of this thing. And so I finally got rid of it. A few months later, I did my fertility awareness method course, which is a natural contraception method based on tracking your cycle and knowing when you are fertile versus not fertile, and working with the three biological changes that happen throughout your cycle, which are temperature change, cervical mucus, and cervical position. I'm not an expert and I'm not a teacher on this, but it's an amazing, amazing method. And if you are interested in finding out more, I could definitely point you out to the right people. Because I realized that, by being on this pill, it was completely redundant. And by being on this IUD, it was completely redundant if I can only get pregnant for a maximum of 6 days throughout my entire cycle, right? And so here I am today, IUD free, pill free, pharmaceutical free, really just so deeply empowered in my connection to my womb and the level of depth that has given me in connection to my body and connection to my femininity, and the level of pleasure that I've been able to experience on my own, but also in partnership, in intimate experiences with others, and really the depth of receivership that this has allowed me to receive myself so deeply, to receive my emotions so deeply, to receive my orgasm so deeply, that I allow myself to go there, right? Because so often as women, we prevent ourselves from going to those deep places and feeling as deeply as we can, because we have all these programmings and blocks around our worthiness to receive. And so that brings me to my why. I truly want to help heal every single womb on this planet. I want to help women reconnect to the power of their womb so that they can understand their female biology and experience symptom-free menstrual cycles, sexual liberation, and personal empowerment. My vision is to empower women to heal their relationship with their womb by reconnecting to the power of their menstrual cycle, sexual energy, and intuitive body wisdom through embodiment rituals and practice. I want to help women redefine their relationship to their womb, to their menstrual cycle, and their sexual energy, so that together we can birth a world where women are taught about their hormones and reproductive health and the sacredness of their womb and sensitivity of the female body in schools. A world where we aren't gaslit by the gynaes and doctors. A world where women aren't told that birth control is the only way to fix your period problems. A world where women aren't burning themselves out trying to live like men. A world where women feel empowered in their sensuality and sexuality. And a world where women have the courage to speak their boundaries and truth. We are birthing this world together, and by showing up to this workshop, you are helping me birth it. And so for that, I am eternally grateful. So I just want to give you a quick overview of womb healing, because it's a really broad, big subject. As you can see, I've kind of condensed it into this graph, but we're going to just be focusing today on a small little section around balancing our hormones and cyclical living. And then also kind of reconnecting everything we're going to be talking around today back to cultivating deeper self-love, deeper self-intimacy, learning to feel and release your emotions, learning to surrender and receive, learning to rest, and healing our connection to our life force, to our sensuality, to our womb power. So that's kind of just a quick overview. And how I have kind of defined womb healing is there are these 6 principles I've condensed it into. So feel your emotions, connect with your womb, live cyclically, embody your bleed, heal your sexuality, and reclaim your feminine energy. And so we're going to be working with these 3 today that I've highlighted in bold. And yeah, just the importance of this on our journey to self-discovery. So do you ever feel like you have so many things to do but so little time, and that this sentence just summarizes your life? Can I get a amen? You know, do you have 101 side hustles and entrepreneurial endeavors? Do you wish you had more time to focus on yourself and do other stuff other than work? Do you get home from work in the evenings and feel exhausted, often too tired to work out, cook, do anything for yourself, let alone intimacy, self-pleasure, partners, you name it? Do you often find yourself taking care of others' needs before your own? Maybe your work, maybe your kids, maybe your husband, your partner, your pets, your friends. Everyone else comes before you. Maybe you struggle to let go and relax in sex. And maybe when work is stressful, you often get moody with your partner or your friends or the people that are closest to you. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've definitely been there. Definitely been there. Um, so much of my life, I just spent one thing after the other, one thing after the other, never taking the time to just breathe and just be present with what is going on, what is coming up. But luckily, the more you heal your womb, the more energy you will have. And so, this is what I'm here to teach you today. The more you connect with your womb, the more you release stagnant energy, emotions, trauma, the more you free up space in your body for your energy to thrive and for your energy to be utilized more efficiently across your day, across your weeks, across your months. So, why are you still experiencing PMS? PMS and what we have to talk about, cyclical living today, I really see go hand in hand because PMS is really just a symptom of a body that is not living cyclically. PMS stands for provide me space. And so when we experience PMS, it is really just the reaction of the womb. It is the reaction of the womb that doesn't feel like she is taken care of. It's the part of the womb that feels neglected. The womb is feeling neglected. The body is feeling neglected. And so this is why we practice cyclical living, to balance the internal world with the external world, to balance the feminine energy with the masculine energy, to really make sure that we are giving as much to ourselves and to our body and to our womb at the same time as we are giving to everyone else and work and everything that our external life is demanding of us. PMS can be so easily healed through just deepening our spiritual self-care, deepening our emotional self-care, deepening the way that we show up for ourselves and the ways that we honor our emotions. We prioritize, what phase we're in. We prioritize where we're at and what we're going through. And so PMS is your body's way of calling you back to yourself. It is the way that your feminine energy is asking for deeper nurturing, deeper nourishment, deeper self-acknowledgement. And so why do we practice cyclical living? I really see cyclical living as the antidote to burnout. If you would like to learn more, I have a podcast episode number 4 all on cyclical living. And cyclical living is really about harmonizing our lifestyle with the ebbs and flows of our menstrual cycle. It's about acknowledging and celebrating each phase of the cycle for its unique gifts, opportunities, and vulnerabilities. It is about knowing that we are a different woman every day of each cycle, and that multidimensionality is a gift to be celebrated. Because our multidimensionality is truly a feminine superpower, because we are both and not just either or, right? We are the CEOs and the mothers, right? We are doing it all. The modern woman is really a superhero in plain clothing because we are choosing to say, I don't want to just be a stay-at-home mom. I don't want to just be a CEO and have my business all figured out. I want to have both. I want to have this beautiful balance and not have to let society dictate how I live my life, right? We want to have it all, and you can have it all. You really, really can. It's just about managing your energy. So here we have the female hormonal cycle. This may look familiar to some of you. And this is if we are cycling naturally, if we're not on any hormonal birth control, this is how our cycles typically look. A typical cycle is around 28 days, although anything from 24 to around 38 is okay. We do want to have longer cycles is healthier, so longer luteal phases is better. So anything 28 upwards will be healthy cycles. So in the beginning, we start with our menstrual phase where we have little to no hormones. And this is often in our menstrual phase when we feel super lethargic and tired and just a little bit emotional. Okay, it's totally normal. And then we get into our follicular phase, and here we have estrogen is slowly starting to rise, and it rises all the way up to ovulation. And just before ovulation, it starts to dip. And as we ovulate, estrogen starts to dip, and we see the rise of progesterone. So, estrogen and progesterone are these two main hormones. Estrogen being dominant at the first half of your cycle, progesterone being dominant at the second half of your cycle. And then we have luteinizing hormone and follicular stimulating hormone, which are going to help with that, help both of these hormones with the necessary functioning, releasing the follicles from the ovum, preparing for ovulation, right? And so, in the first half of the cycle, this is when we're really just go getter. This is when we are celebrated. This is when we are productive. This is when we are externally focused. Estrogen is like this flirty, feminine, high energy kind of hormone. And then in the second half of the cycle, we have progesterone. And progesterone is like to call it the oracle hormone. This is the time when progesterone is really facilitating us to have a deep connection with our internal world. Progesterone allows for us to receive that deep wisdom from our body, from our womb, from source, right? Progesterone is also amazing anti-anxiety hormone, okay? And so all of these hormones have really, really such a multidimensional effect on the body. The list for what these hormones are used for besides menstrual cycle is so long. Like, we need these hormones for heart health and brain function and for blood vein circulation and warmth and temperature and all these different hormonal processes that happen in the body that are not related to sex. We need these hormones, but the only way we produce these hormones is through the natural menstrual cycle, is through ovulation. And so if we're not ovulating, we're not going to be getting all the beautiful benefits of these hormones. And so here, I just like to show this graph because it really shows. We here have on the left-hand side the birth control cycle, so what your hormones look like when you're on birth control, versus the natural cycle. And you will see that. And then on the right here, I have the male hormonal cycle versus the female hormonal cycle. And you will see that the birth control cycle kind of mimics the male hormonal cycle in a weird, twisted way. I've also heard a lot of doctors say that the birth control cycle is actually more representative of a woman after menopause, right? And so these birth controls that we're taking, these hormonal birth controls, they're really, really toxic to our body, and they don't allow for us to have these beautiful waves of energy. And so you're not able to take advantage of these peaks and these troughs, these ebbs and these flows, right? You just kind of remain in this constant like days of like little to no energy. So that was definitely my experience while on the pill, because we need all of these hormones for different parts, different phases, different functionings, and we can really capitalize on them. So here we have a beautiful graph. This is available for download on my shop as a digital poster. If this is something you would like, you can have it in your house. You can print it big. You can put it next to your bed, next to your desk, just to remind you how to live cyclically. Because living cyclically is a fucking game changer for every woman. Okay, and so we'll go into this. So, like I said, day one, it starts with our menstruation. And this is when our hormones are at the lowest, our energy and mood is at the lowest. We feel passive and withdrawn. Menstruation is really this mini ego death, it is a spiritual death. And during this time, it is best for you to listen to your body's needs. You need to be asking yourself, what does my body want to do? You need to be listening to your body. You need to be listening to your intuition. This is a great time for focusing on alone time, stillness, rest, reflection, self-care. I always say napping as a professional sport during this time, right? Don't ever, ever, ever feel guilty for taking a nap while you're bleeding. It's like honestly the best thing that you can do for yourself. It really, really is. Then we have, so you should be eating warm food during this time. Please don't ever eat cold food when you're on your period. It's going to mess with your body's ability to keep that flow going. And then we also just need to be look out for some vulnerabilities around being emotional, low mood, low energy, a little bit depressed. This is all totally normal. But also that depressive, low emotional energy also alleviates the more you heal your womb. Whereas now I barely ever get these like really hectic lows, these dips, this low energy. I don't really feel that on my period because I've been consistently doing this work for 4 years, right? So then we get into our spring, and this is a really, really great time to start planning for creativity, problem solving. This is when your energy starts to improve, your mood improves. And we really just want to ask ourselves, what does spirit want me to do today? What can I do, right? And we should be focusing on learning, creativity, organizing, project planning. We can be eating energizing and lighter foods. This is when you can start to bring in eating cold foods again. And the vulnerabilities to look out for during this time are really overwhelm, anxiety, low self-esteem, and feeling directionless. Because if you're in your follicular but you don't have a plan of like what you need to do, you can often feel just like a little bit lost and aimless. And then we get into ovulation. Ovulation is technically only 24 hours, but you can feel the effects of the energy for about 3 to 5 days. And this is really where we want to ask ourselves, what can't I not do, right? What will light me up? How can I use my energy and this excitement to the max? And this is when we're feeling expressive and outgoing, sociable, our mood peaks, our energy peaks, we feel our best. This is when we want to be listening to what our desires and our creative ideas, focusing on communication, productivity, socializing, teamwork, high energy tasks, right? Um, During this time, we want to be eating a high calorie intake, raw, high fiber, extra greens, But we need to also still look out for burnout, feeling ungrounded, people pleasing, and draining ourselves out, because this is when we have so much energy and sometimes we can push it so hard. What often happens is women will be in their ovulation energy and they will just, I mean, this is what I do as well, like make plans with so many different friends and say, yes, 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 and I'll do this and I'll do that. And yes, 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 I'm so excited for life. And then next week comes and we're in luteal and you're like, fuck, why did I say yes to all those plans? Like my ovulation energy really just hits too fucking good. So really that's something you're going to want to just look out for. It's not saying too much and just preparing, like, okay, next week I'm in my luteal. I'm not going to feel as energized as I do now. How can I just stagger my responsibilities? Then we have our luteal, and this is when progesterone, like I said, starts to take over. Our energy and our mood starts to dip. And this is when we ask, what can I do? What energy do I have, right? Um, and this is about listening to your intuition, listening to your body, focusing on mindfulness, extra self care, slowing down, reflection time, journaling, right? Eating warm, grounding foods, baked, roasted foods. This is also if you eat plant-based or you like to have a balanced diet. This is when I will focus on eating meat. I don't eat meat really throughout the rest of my cycle, but then in my luteal phase, I will try to eat meat. I only eat meat around once or twice a month. And this is the best time for you to eat meat. Whoops. As this is really going to, help your body the best, right? For preparing for your bleed, getting all those iron stores and energy up. So, what we have been programmed is that we have been programmed to value. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor, but we've been programmed to value this spring and summer energy, which is really the masculine half of the cycle, the external outward focus. And we have been programmed to devalue this feminine half of the cycle, the luteal, the autumn and the winter, the luteal and the menstruation phase. And really the essential key word that I want you guys to take away from this experience is that luteal equals slowing down. And so, what I find women often struggle with is you come out of ovulation with so much excitement, so much productivity, so much just excitement to do the thing. But then you get into luteal and your brain actually needs a little bit of time to start to slow down with your body, because your brain is moving at this really, really high, fast speed pace, but then your body is slowing down and your brain needs that time. And so we need to kind of have this buffer zone between ovulation and luteal. I'm going to speak more about the buffer zone just now, but this buffer zone where we can slowly, day by day, do a little bit less, take on a little bit less responsibility, start to do a little bit more self-care. Little bit more self-care day by day, because the luteal phase is really when you're going to want to double down on your self-care. It's when you're going to want to really just prioritize that sacred relationship with yourself, with your body, with your feminine energy. And I know it's not always easy. I know some months things are chaotic and just the responsibilities, they pile up. But whatever way that you can start to slow down is going to make a difference. I often say to my clients, if your to-do list is 10 things long, fucking chop it in half, right? Like chop it in half and don't be ashamed to do that, right? Like, we really can come to this realization that, like, is it life and death that I do not get this done? Like, is someone going to die that I do not get this done? Is Especially when we're working for ourselves. I mean, obviously we have external deadlines. A lot of us may still be working 9 to 5s. There's not always the ability to negotiate, especially when we work in corporate jobs, etc. But there are still small ways that you can be more gentle on yourself. And the beauty about cyclical living is that you get to customize how this looks for you. So this is just a template to work from. And now I want you to customize it based on your life and what your life is asking for you, and how you can really just make those small changes. Um, because small steps, small things eventually add up over a long period of time to a big thing, right? And those like 10 extra minutes of self-care that you give yourself per day is really at the end of the week going to make such a huge difference to your ability to be present, your ability to be grounded, your ability to be calm and feel peaceful and feel on top of life, right? Feel like you've got it. You've got life. You're handling your shit. Maybe some of you are practicing cyclical living already. Maybe this is something you're hearing about for the first time. Would love to hear where you are all at and how I can support you in deepening, because yeah, this is a cycle and we get to flow in a cyclical way. Some months are going to be a little bit harder, some months are going to be easier, but the more we start to practice this, okay, where am I in my cycle? Let me just check in with myself. Okay, why am I feeling like this? Why am I feeling like this? Okay, let me check my cycle app. Oh, I'm on day 23. Okay, day 23. Let me mark this down. Next cycle. Okay, day 23 is coming up. No wonder I feel shitty. So it's just like, it's really important to track and to keep I like to encourage my clients to keep a period journal. So you can have like your normal journal and then you can have your period journal. And if you're just getting into this work, it's a really amazing thing to do, um to keep a period journal and just to like write down, like, it doesn't have to be in depth. You can just write down your symptoms, you can write down how you're feeling, 1 or 2 words. Um and that's really going to help you kind of keep track, because then after 6 months you can start to page back and see, like, okay, day 23 really is the day when I start feeling emotional and shitty and overwhelmed and burnt out. Like, let me now, using this information, using this data that I've collected about myself, make um, plans so that on day 23 next month, I don't have to have as many responsibilities, or I ask someone to watch my kids while I go get a massage, or it's just about like planning in advance and like knowing that like your future self will really thank your present self for having this depth of awareness, right? And so we can start to track these things that come up, and um maybe after after living cycling consciously, in a few months time you notice day 23, oh my god, I don't feel so overwhelmed anymore. And you note that down and you're like, wow, I have really made so much progress in my healing journey and in my womb journey, because I'm not feeling as overwhelmed on day 23 anymore. Kayla says there's a really good app called Moody. Amazing. I've never heard of that, but I must definitely check that out. I love that. So yeah, it's really just about being present, being aware, and noting these things down, so that in the future you can really make plans for the difficult days, because we all have difficult days. We're not meant to be happy all the time and like on top of our shit all the time, especially if we're a mother, looking after two little humans or other humans. Like, it's overwhelming. It really, really is. And so the more you can just have an awareness of yourself and of your body, the better you are going to be able to show up for work, for your life, for your business, for your children, whatever it is, right? So yeah, if you do want this poster, it's available on my shop. So I've kind of created these 5 steps. It's quite simple, but really, when you apply these 5 steps to your life, it's going to really make such a big difference. So earlier I spoke about the buffer zone. So I spoke about having this buffer zone between ovulation and luteal, and this is where you can start to slow down in steps. So it's not just like you go from doing everything to doing nothing, right? So you can start to slowly, one day at a time, cross out the lists, take things off your list, slow down, prioritize more of yourself, and slowly start to shift your focus from this external focus to this internal focus, right? But we can also have a buffer zone between our work and our home life. And I think this is really revolutionary and important, because the more we stay connected to our body, the more present we are in our feminine energy, the more connected we are to our feminine side. And so this is really kind of how I see it. Like, being in our head is more masculine and being in our body is more feminine. But how I see it is that, like, we don't have to choose. We don't have to be like, okay, sometimes I'm in my feminine, sometimes I'm in my masculine. The more we create space for just being in our body and being present and doing these practices and going to yoga and meditating, the more we can just operate from the heart center. This is really where we want to be coming from majority of the time, is the heart center being this bridge between the mind and the body. And this is when we can be doing typically masculine things while still remaining connected to our feminine energy. Okay, but this takes practice. And so this buffer zone is a beautiful way to come back to your feminine energy when you've been working the whole day, you've been on the computer, you've been in your head, you've been focusing on other people's problems and to-do lists and all these external things. And so the buffer zone is really the time that it takes you to get out of this work state of mind and into a more home state of mind. So getting out of the masculine and transitioning more into the feminine state of being. And so this buffer zone can really look different for every person. Like, for me personally, half an hour of yoga is an amazing way to create this buffer zone. So I create that space for myself, and it allows me to drop out of my mind into the body. And then after that yoga session, I'm so much more present, I'm grounded, I'm centered, and I'm able to be more connected to the people that I'm living with who are in my close environment. So this buffer zone could also just be 10 minutes of meditation. This buffer zone could be 10 minutes of connecting with your womb, doing some deep womb breathing. It can look like going for a swim in the ocean, or going for a jog, or exercise of any kind, or maybe whatever it is, your buffer zone is going to be customized to your lifestyle and what works for you. But really, don't expect yourself to come out of your work day and just be like, no, I'm in my feminine. It's like, it doesn't work like that. We need to have these practices in place that are going to help us slowly get back into the body, slowly get back into our feminine energy. So yeah, when I thought of the buffer zone, I was just like, fuck, this is genius. Like, we need to be having this this buffer zone. And like if your partner's like, babe, like what are you doing, where are you going, like I want to see you, it's like, no babe, I'm prioritizing my buffer zone so that I can be more receptive to connecting with you, right? So then we want to kind of, and this step 2 is kind of linked to what I've already spoken about, is balancing your feminine and masculine energy. And so, yeah, like I said, the more we prioritize exercise, embodiment practice, yoga, like breath work, like the more we prioritize being in our body, the more natural it is for our consciousness to reside in the body. And so we are able to do typically masculine tasks while staying present in our feminine energy. And so there's no need for us to constantly like switch in and out, in and out. It's not so binary, there's more of like a gray zone where we are in our feminine energy and we're still connected to our body, connected to our senses. Because really what I see your feminine energy is just like connected to your sensual awareness, connected to your body. And so we can start to create this balance between our feminine and masculine energy. And if you ever get, overwhelmed or like too stuck in your head, like just take a break, just take a breather. If you get frustrated, if you're getting stressed out, if you're getting overwhelmed, just take time to breathe and come back to the body, come back to the present. That's how we're going to stay rooted in our feminine energy, is by taking these little breaks, taking time to go outside, having your coffee in the sun outside, taking a break, walking around the block, connecting back to the senses, doing some tapping, meditation, breath work, all of these things we can incorporate throughout our day. It doesn't have to be like, oh, now I'm going to do like this massive session of self-care. It's like we can do like little increments of like 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, because really 5 minutes of conscious connected breathing is going to make such a big difference in your day to day, so then we can get to step 3. We connect to our womb throughout our cycle. So this is something that's really important, is being aware of our womb throughout our cycle, not just when we're bleeding, not just when we are in our autumn, in our luteal, right? And really maintaining that connection between mind and body, between self and womb. I kind of like to see the womb as this, it has its own consciousness. It really does. And so it's like you can see it as like a best friend or even a pet, right? And it wants your attention throughout your day, throughout your life. It doesn't want to only be connected to when you're bleeding or when you're having sex, right? It wants you to be connected to it at all times. So sometimes like I'll even just find myself like holding my womb when I'm speaking to someone, or like placing my hands there. It's just about creating this subtle awareness. Maybe you are just taking a breath and you're just placing your hand on your womb, or you're driving and you're placing your hand on your womb, or you're at any time that you have, just bringing your connection back to your womb. How's my womb feeling right now? How am I feeling in my hips? How am I feeling in my pelvis? Can I just like open it up? Am I breathing deeply? Because also how your womb feels is also going to be deeply related to how deeply you are breathing. Many of us aren't breathing properly. We're not breathing as deeply as we should. And so what we can do is we can literally just, as you can see, you almost want to expand your stomach. So really just like puffing out the stomach, pushing it out on the in-breath. Like really pushing it out, creating that space. And then contracting and just making sure that you're breathing properly, that you're having these deep diaphragmatic breathing, because that's also going to help regulate your nervous system and reduce your stress. And then we get to I really think this is the most important step, is feeling your emotions. Um, Really, like, the more we suppress, the more stress we create in our body. There is no later. There is no such thing as, oh, I'm just going to feel this later. Oh, I'll deal with it later. Or, oh, like, I don't have the time right now. I'll deal with it tomorrow. Like, there's no such thing as later. What happens is the body sees your disconnection from your emotional experience, and it makes it mean something about you. It makes it mean something. And so the body will then store these emotions in the nervous system. And when we suppress, it just builds up and up and up and up and up and up and up, and then eventually it's all going to explode, right? Eventually it's going to dysregulate us completely. It's going to burn us out. It's going to disconnect us from what it means to be us, right? And so making time and space, if an emotion is coming up, make time and space to feel it right then and there. If you're around other people, excuse yourself. If you're at work, go to the bathroom. If you are if you are a mother, like, I think it's so healthy to show children that crying and expressing emotion in a healthy way is valid, is normal, is sacred, right? And however that expression looks to you, as long as it's not impacting on someone else's boundaries, someone else's safety, and you're owning your expression, that is when you're going to find empowerment in your expression. Maybe you want to ask someone to hold space for you and say, hey, like, do you have a minute? I really need to get something off my chest. I don't need your advice. I just need you to hold space for me. This is how we can create more vulnerability in our relationships and more vulnerability with ourselves, because we prioritize this depth of feeling. It's so, so important. And the more you allow yourself to feel your pain and your frustration and your anger and your tears, the more you allow yourself to feel your pleasure and your joy and your ecstasy and your juiciness and all the good things, right? So your ability to feel pain is deeply contrasted by your ability to feel pleasure. They go hand in hand. They're two sides of the same coin. And so if you're blocking yourself from feeling on one end of the spectrum, you're going to be blocking yourself from feeling on the other end of the spectrum. And really don't the moment we start trying to analyze with the mind, like, why am I feeling this way? Where is this coming from? Like, that's the moment we slip into disassociation. Really, feeling is just about being present with the sensations, being present with what wants to flow, what wants to come out, what wants to be expressed. And then later on, when we've had some time to express and let it go, later we can do the journaling and figuring out where it's coming from and what's stemming and what's provoking it. But really, when the emotion wants to express, it doesn't want to come out with a story, it just wants to come out. And emotions are really just energy in motion. It's something that wants to move. So can you allow yourself to be moved? Okay. And then step 5 is making time for pleasure. And pleasure is such a it's 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 a word that has a lot of weight on it, and I think we often always feel like pleasure has to be sexual, but I'm telling you, no, it doesn't. Pleasure can look in so many different ways, so many different avenues. I mean, for me, pleasure can also be standing in the sun and taking a deep breath and being connected to my body and, like, giving gratitude for the sunshine and for this beautiful day and for the experience of being alive. Pleasure can also be like when you're driving and you're turning the music up loud and you put down the window and you're just like singing along and you're like having a great time, right? Pleasure is about being connected to the senses. It's about being embodied. It's about being present in your reality. And it's about taking the silver linings of every moment. It's about how can I make this moment with myself just a little bit more pleasurable, just a little bit more present. How can I just be a little bit more grounded in my reality right now? And so the more time we make, the more space we make for non-sexual pleasures, the more pleasure we can allow ourselves to feel in sexual experiences, in sensual experiences. So connecting to the five senses like taste, touch, eyesight, smell, and hearing. These are the five senses that we can connect with to invoke more pleasure. Maybe you want to light a candle. Maybe you want to have some essential oils nearby. Maybe you want to make an essential oil spray. Maybe you want to light some incense. Maybe you want to, um, like just slowly like rub your chest or like massage your shoulders or however that is, how can we give ourselves more pleasure? Because we're also here to take responsibility for our own pleasure, sexual and non-sexual pleasure. It's not someone else's job to give us pleasure. It's the more we outsource our pleasure, the more we disempower ourselves. So we have to internally resource our own pleasure. We have to internally create that for ourselves. And then that's when we can internally create so much more openness and space to receive our own pleasure, because pleasure is about receiving. It's about receiving the depth of the moments. It's about receiving the experience of your own touch. It's about experiencing the beauty of a summer's day and the sun on your skin, and like how good it feels to be alive, and like how good it feels to be so present, right? um Feel free to drop in the chats what are some of your little pleasures. Like, how do you create little pleasures throughout your days, and how can you make space for more, right? More pleasure we cultivate non-sexually, the more pleasure we can cultivate sexually. Because pleasure is multidimensional, and it's really here to drop us into the gift of receiving. Can you receive the gift of a compliment? Can you receive the beauty of the day? Can you receive the taste of your food? Can you receive the beautiful smell of the incense that's burning, right? Our Cam says, I like to take time to sit in the sun and with her cats. Yeah, see, spending time with pets as well. I didn't mention that, but it's such a beautiful way to become more present. Animals are really, they just live in the present, the here and now, right? Animals are so present, and they really teach us the beauty of unconditional love. So yeah, it's super beautiful. And the more we create space for just feeling and being and breathing and taking breaks and not being on the screen the whole day and taking time to reconnect with the body and with the breath, all of these things are going to make such a huge difference. Really, really, they will. Because that means that your body knows that you are listening to her. Your body knows, okay, like my human listens to me. My human prioritizes me. My human loves me. And so your body just naturally wants to open more and be more expressed. And it's like this beautiful trust relationship with our body, this beautiful trust relationship that we get to create with our body. When you create that internal safety with your body, that internal trust, then when you go into a sexual experience, that trust comes online, that safety comes online. You're able to hold yourself more, you're able to express yourself more. Your body is more lubricated, you're more wet, you feel deeper, you feel your emotions deeper, you feel your body deeper. Therefore, you can express your boundaries, you can express your desires. You know what feels like a fuck yes versus a fuck no. Like all of this is really just allowing us to deepen into our connection to our body, to our womb space, because the womb is where all of our feminine energy is going to be generated from. Yeah, Kayla says, I find it's really important for me to get out of my head and just do the things that I know will make me feel better, like dancing in my own living room. I love that. I'm always dancing as well. I'm always posting on my Instagram story, like me dancing like a crazy person in the kitchen and in my room. And oh my God, I love dancing so much. It's such amazing. Like that's my buffer zone ritual, right? Create buffer zone rituals. I should have written ritual at the end there. But buffer zone rituals are going to help you get out of your head and back into your body. It's so, so important. I love dancing as well. And dance is also a powerful way for us to like work with our emotions in the present. So like not just dancing when you feel like happy, but like also dancing when you feel a bit vulnerable and sensitive, and maybe you want to put on a slow song that like matches your mood more, and like maybe you just want to like work with like, how does my body want to move in this like vulnerable way? Maybe I'm feeling a little bit shut down, and like how does that want to express itself? The more we create space for expression, the more we like our bodies just trust us, the more we can open up, the less like contracted we are. The contractions is what creates the blocks and the inability to feel, and the numbness and the dryness and the like feeling scared to be vulnerable and open up and like all these things, right? So yeah, create these buffer zone rituals. It's really important. Learn how you can reconnect with your feminine energy, what feels good for you. Connect to your womb throughout your cycle, feel your emotions, and make time for pleasure. Also, self pleasure rituals have become really important for me. Like making time for self pleasure, making time for masturbation. It's really, really important that we make this time because it fills up our own cup. It fills up our cup from the inside out. That means that when our cup is full, we're not seeking it from the outside. And when our cup is overflowing, we fill up our cup and then we can overflow into everyone around us. Like one of the most beautiful things that I've been experimenting with is like, how can I share my erotic energy with others in non-sexual ways, right? So it's not about flirting, it's not about hitting on other people. It's about like sharing my erotic aliveness and my feminine energy, and like the ability to just feel so deeply and notice things and like share that like giggly flirty kind of energy. But it's not about being sexual, it's not about like hitting on someone, it's just about that aliveness, that excitement, that like I'm high on life and I want to share my high with you, right? I hope that is making sense. And it just becomes like this really innocent expression of like your aliveness. That's really what I see erotic energy as. It's just your aliveness. And so yeah, connecting with yourself and making time for self pleasure, it's really important. It's really, really important, and making sure like you have safe spaces, making sure that you create ritual around self pleasure, that you feel like you're not going to be overheard, that you have space, that you have time, that you have the space to go there with yourself and start slow and start gentle, right? Yes, exactly, Margaret. It's about the life force expression. And it's how we choose to channel that life force. And that life force is inherently sexual, but we don't have to channel it always towards sexual experiences. We can channel it towards our creative projects. We can channel it towards ourselves. Like that's the most powerful thing, is when we can turn our own energy back towards ourselves and cultivate that back with ourselves. Um, and yeah, create space for pleasure. Pleasure, 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 pleasure. How can you create more pleasure in your lives? So, some of you may know I have this beautiful offering. And for those of you that have joined live, I'm so grateful that you are here. The five of you are going to get the chance to win. I'm going to enter all of your names into a random name generator, and we're going to see who gets to win my intro course. This is a mini course, it's an introduction to womb healing and all the work that I do. Awaken Women. Margaret joined it last year. She loved it a lot. And yeah, so I'm really excited to see who wins that. And if you would like an introduction into my work, but you don't currently have the funds for deeper self investment, this is a really amazing place to start as I cover all the bases and yeah, it's just like a really amazing introduction to womb healing and the work that I do in my one-to-one and group coaching experiences.
So, sister, now that we have delved into the importance of healing your womb and the impact that this has on your life, everyone in your family and your relationships' lives, as well as the collective feminine soul psyche, let's dive into a really exciting offering that I would like to invite you into. I present to you Liberated Womb. This is a 6-week group coaching container that provides women the tools and wisdom to reconnect to their cycle, sensuality, and feminine energy using cycle syncing, womb healing, body literacy, and somatics, which is just a fancy word for body, mind, nervous system connection. Okay. This program is currently at a very, very special pre-launch price of €222. And I am so excited. This price will never, ever, ever be offered again. This launch special ends in 4 days' time on the 15th of April, the same day that this recording ends. And I am really excited for you to join me in the 6-week group coaching container. Okay, so let's just go through the sales page together because I had so much fun making it. So, what is your relationship to your womb? Have you ever thought about this question? Have you ever considered the sacred space of creative power? And so here you get a little taster of the type of content I will be covering, the multidimensional facets of womb healing and everything that it relates to. So many different aspects of life really are impacted by the state of our womb. Because since we have been little girls, we have received the message that our blood is dirty, shameful, and taboo. Whether we received this conditioning from parents, teachers, friends, or family, or simply absorbed it from the culture around us, all women hold some form of shame or rejection, either conscious or subconscious, towards their menstrual cycle and towards their womb space. We were simply never provided the correct education, the correct tools and frameworks from which to learn and understand our feminine bodies intimately. So, this live program is for any and every woman who wants to heal her relationship to her menstrual cycle, release problems around her period, and activate her dormant sexual power. Whether you want to heal painful cramps, heavy flow, missing periods, learn period tracking and conscious cycling, or just generally deepen into your connection and understanding of your sacred womb, then this program is for you, babe. Our current patriarchal culture is by no means a womb positive one. And so reclaiming the sacredness of our womb, of our blood, of our menstruation, of our sexuality is imperative for our healing. Okay, so what do you get in this course? You get 5 weekly Zoom live coaching calls. You then get, which will all be on coaching, you then get 5 modules in an online course portal. You then get one cycle tracking PDF plus video. You get 5 meditations, one per module. You get 5 embodiment practices, exercises. I actually think I've increased the amount of embodiment practices because I just love embodiment. It's such a powerful way to anchor the wisdom and the teachings into the body. And then you get non-stop support on a group community, WhatsApp or Telegram community group where you get to interact with the other attendees and share your wisdom and your downloads and ask for support. And then you also get 1 week of integration, coaching, and support, which is in the 6th week, as well as getting Spotify playlists for every module. How fun! And so the total value of this course is actually well over 2,000 euro. I mean, this is just what you get. And here you can read a little bit about my story, my hero's journey. If you want to learn more, you can listen to my podcast. And then I also have some really cool bonuses that come included with this program. And so when you enroll with this program, you automatically get the Awaken Woman 5-day mini course for free. You get the 1 hour intro to womb healing workshop. You get the Breaking Up with Birth Control 2 hour workshop. You get an introduction to FAM natural contraception workshop with a special guest teacher. I'm also bringing on a medical doctor who's also a homeopath and naturopath to do a masterclass on hormones. And then I'm also going to get another guest teacher to come and give you guys a introduction to Tantra and sacred sexuality. Okay. And then maybe some other surprise guest lectures here and there. We'll see what creative ideas come to me. So as you can see, like the value for this course is really, really crazy. Like we have the bonuses are well over 350 euro. So let's dive into the modules. What are we going to be learning? So, module 1 is all about healing flow. This is about healing your relationship to your womb, your period. What is your womb story? Dealing with PMS and pain, changing the narratives and stories we have towards our period and cycle. Learning about the powerful life cycles, life, death, rebirth, learning about hormones, activating your womb wisdom, um, and really understanding how the mind and the subconscious beliefs that we hold in the mind really impact the period and impact our experience of being a woman. And this is called psychosomatics. And then I also go into tracking your cycle, and also what best period products you should be using. Then module 2 is the alive body. So as you can see at the beginning of every module, we start with shadow work, which for me is really important. It's really important to do the deep, dark work and dig out the stuff, dig out the blocks that are standing us in the way of us integrating the new information. So first we excavate and get rid of and release the blocks, and then we can dive into the learning and the light and the power, right? So then we have module 2, Alive Body, which is about all about the body, working in connection with our body, self-care and rest, cycle syncing, natural contraception, body literacy, the big business of birth control, big pharma's role in our lives, how we can become our own healer, deepening in body awareness, self-trust, healing through dance and free movement. This is one of my specialties. The amount of blocks that I've healed in my body on the dance floor, in the club, at the festival is like really crazy. So I'm going to give you like my special technique and method for doing this. How to do energy healing on yourself, and what is life force really? How can we use it to heal our body? Then we have module 3, which is all about deepening in trust to ourselves, to our relationship, to our feminine energy. The shadow work is going to be around our mother wound and our maternal lineage, healing our relationship to the feminine, understanding our own internalized misogyny, creating structures of self-support, establishing that heart-womb connection, delving into the Jungian psychology and archetypal energies of the feminine collective unconscious. We're going to do some juicy heart breast activations, yummy yum, and healing, calling on the light feminine, activating our light feminine, finding forgiveness for ourselves, right? And then module 4, my favorite, sex goddess. And here you can see every module is going to have its own specific meditation and embodiment practices associated with it. You can see this module already has one, two, three, three embodiment practices, and I'm probably going to add more as I go along, as well as I get inspired by the work that we're doing in this container. And then we have alchemizing the taboo, talking about sex, talking about pleasure, really healing and clearing the wound from any past trauma, past sexual trauma, past lovers, getting intimate with our womb and our pussy, our biology and her signals and sensations and messages. We're going to be working on training the body so that we can have 7 different kinds of orgasms. Really, that's what I've experienced, 7 different kinds of orgasms. So we're going to work on how we can train your body to be open to receiving all these different kinds of orgasms, right? Because our bodies are so multidimensional and the types of pleasure that we can experience are also multidimensional. Then we're going to be activating our pussy power, sex magic, and manifestation, activating our dark feminine energy and bad bitch magnetism. Okay, that's really around how we can use our pussy power to manifest, to call in lovers and experiences and opportunities and money and pleasure. It's so juicy. I'm so excited. And then we have module 5, which is the express self. And this is all about connecting with the true self, finding your inner voice, doing shadow work around sacred rage and boundaries, healing the throat chakra, connecting the throat, the heart, and the womb and the yoni, because they're all connected. Your ability to express yourself is also your ability to experience pleasure. So the more you can allow yourself to express in sex and out of sex, the more pleasure you're going to be able to channel around your whole body, right? Deepening in pleasure through the voice, sound, somatics, and the body, frequency healing, finding your authentic voice, and connecting to intuition and higher wisdom. Okay, so that's a quick little rundown. Because, babe, the more you resist your womb, your bleed, and the cyclical nature of your body, the more you will struggle. Your feminine body wants to be connected to you, her depths experienced, her emotions felt, her cycles honored, her moans expressed, and her juices released. Oh, so juicy. So we may as well learn to live in harmony with our cycles and our womb. Cultivating womb connection really is key to balancing the feminine heart and mind in order to creating stable mental health and a deep self-love connection. Learning practices and tools like the ones I'm going to teach you in this course are going to be pivotal for your healing journey and for creating inner and outer harmony and cultivating deep health on a mind, body, and soul level. Okay, so this course is for you if you resent and feel ashamed of your menstrual cycle, you feel maybe disconnected from your body and womb, you struggle to let go during sex, you struggle to relax, you struggle to get out of your head, to be in your feminine, to be in your body, you experience cramps, PMS, and other symptoms. Maybe you're feeling disconnected from your energy, your feminine energy, and also you want to learn how to live cyclically and track your cycle. So these are all really powerful reasons for you to join this course. And here you can read some testimonials about women's experiences doing work with me. Really, because a woman that is connected to the power of her womb, the energy of her sensuality, and the wisdom of her blood, and understands the cyclical nature of her life is an unstoppable woman. Because when you heal your relationship to your period and womb, you heal a fundamental connection to your feminine energy that then heals your entire reality. Okay, so currently Liberated Womb is at the pre-launch price of 222 euros. This price ends on the 15th of April at 15:15 GMT, South African time, or CET, European time. And then if you would like to upgrade and have the VIP option, which includes 6 bonus one-to-one coaching sessions with me and also one-to-one voice and text support with me via WhatsApp or Telegram throughout the entire 6 weeks of the journey. So you have me in your back pocket to send me voice notes, send me questions, and have that personalized exchange, whereas all the other women only have that on the group. So yeah, I'm so excited. The doors to this close pretty soon. And yeah, here's some FAQs, and I'm so excited to have you join me. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would love to talk to you, jump on a free call with you, and chat about whether or not this program is for you. I'm also offering payment plans, which will then be available after the pre-launch special ends. So if you are interested in a payment plan or you need an extended payment plan, please feel free to reach out to me about that as well. I never want money to be the reason someone can't access the power that is this work. Okay, thank you for being here. All my love to you, and reach out to me if this sounds like something you're interested in.
And yeah, I also offer one-to-one coaching. So if you would like to work with me in a more one-to-one capacity, that's also available. If you do one-to-one coaching with me, you'll also get automatically registered for Liberated Womb. So there's so many bonuses that come through with that. I have a YouTube channel where I have a lot of free content. I have a podcast also. YouTube, Spotify, Apple. I'm on TikTok, and here's my website as well. So yeah, please follow me, subscribe, reach out. I'm here to support you. I'm here to help and serve your liberation. And yeah, if you signed up, you're on my email list. I always send juicy free things on my email list. And yeah, I'm just so grateful for all of you being here. I would love to now open the floor for some questions, some comments, anything. I would love to offer you guys the experience to be live coached by me. So yeah, if anyone would like to ask any questions, literally anything womb related, period related, health related, feminine energy, um, yeah, whatever it is, please feel free to ask some questions.
Hi.
Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself as well. Hi,
Yeah.
Margaret.
Hi. Thank you so much. I just saw you were offering something and I just signed up. I didn't even look into it.
Yeah.
But it's so good to get a refresher because, yeah, the last time was just awesome.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, because now I started, I'm in menopause, but I still kind of feel, I just love hearing about this, and there's a lot of it. It's just it's uncomfortable when you start looking into this stuff and hearing you talk about it. There's a lot of things just like, So I'm just so grateful for you and this class, the Liberated Womb. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
necessary.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
and I
wanted
have a
to say,
daughter,
yeah,
so
with menopause, you can use the phases of the moon. So you can use the phases of the moon. So spring being so menstruation being the new moon, and then ovulation being the full moon, and then autumn being the waning moon, and spring being the waxing moon. So just because you're not bleeding doesn't mean you don't still energetically cycle, because you do energetically cycle.
Yeah,
So
and
that's also
I've
something.
been feeling that now, just like hearing you talk about it, it really resonates. And I did, I had a session energy clearing, so I started my period on the full moon and
Beautiful.
also on the new moon again, so I can, still track it.
Amazing.
So yeah,
Amazing.
that's good.
Thank you for being
think
here.
about this again. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Cam says, I think my biggest thing is how to stay consistent. Any tips here? Yeah, babe, all of us will struggle with consistency. And I think it's really just about like prioritizing, like prioritizing in each phase, because each phase of your cycle, you're going to have different priorities. And it's really about like, what are your priorities in each phase? Like, and your priorities in your luteal are going to be very different to your priorities in your follicular, right? And so for my priorities, like in my luteal phase, self care is always going to be at the top of the list, right? And if it isn't, I'm going to ask you to just check in with yourself and say, like, why do I feel the need in my luteal phase or in my menstrual phase to prioritize socializing and doing shit for other people over myself? Like, where's that coming from, right? Maybe it's around some worthiness wounds that I need to clear around why I deserve self-care in the first place. um but with the consistency, I think it's really just, yeah, important to schedule self-care like into your planner, into your diary, into your phone calendar, you know, like write down like, okay, this is when I go to gym, this is when I meditate, this is when I do this. And then you can even have your calendar and your phone like remind you like, oh hey, in 5 minutes time you need to be, you know, sitting on the mat meditating or doing your yoga or whatever, you know. I think that can be really helpful to put it into the calendar. um and yeah, just also not being hard on yourself. Like, it's a journey we're all on. It's really going to ebb and flow. The feminine is about chaos and creativity, the masculine is about more structured and routine. So yeah, my self-care looks different every week, and based on like what my needs are, how my energy is feeling. And really just like being comfortable saying no to other people, saying no to things that feel overwhelming, not like, not, you know, honoring your no more than your yes. And through honoring your no, your yes will come much more easier, and it's going to be a more refined yes, rather than a yes that comes from people pleasing or like feeling the need to say yes or whatever, you know. I'm just thinking now, you know, maybe you want to write like a weekly to-do list, because I don't condone daily to-do lists. I condone weekly to-do lists. I think it's so much more manageable. And then, you know, maybe it's like a weekly work to-do list, and then there's like a weekly self-care to-do list, you know. And maybe you look at those side by side every day and you kind of tick them off. And like, maybe on Monday you get like 2 self-care things done, maybe on Tuesday you don't get any done, and that's okay, but maybe on Wednesday you get another 2, and then on Thursday you like hit 3, and then Friday it's like, cool, I've done all my self-care for the week, you know. So it's like, it's just what works for you, what works for other people. We're all a little bit different. Like I said, my self-care doesn't look the same every week. I mean, I'll go to gym, I'll go to yoga classes, but besides that, you know, like a lot of my self-care comes from just spending time with myself, going out into the garden, having a cup of tea, checking in, resetting. Kayla says here, setting out your yoga mat the night before. And if you really don't feel like getting on it, just commit to lying on it for 5 minutes with a blanket. That's beautiful. Exactly. Like, just any way that you can start to dedicate more time to yourself. My coach recently said to me, try the 5 by 5 rule, 5 5 5. So 5 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes of breath work, 5 gratitudes in your journal. And so just start with 5 minutes. Like, if 30 minutes of something feels overwhelming, start with 5 minutes and then build up from there. It's also called habit stacking. So start with like start with 1 or 2 things. And once you've kind of got them down, then you can start to add more. um but yeah, I like to flow more in my life. I like to not have so much structure. Like, I have structure in the way that I do my work and in my business, but in my personal life I like to flow a little bit more, keeping connected to my feminine energy. I mean, I also know that like, if say my family is out and I've got the house to myself, like that's when I'm going to have a self pleasure session. you know, just being aware of like how your environment is also impacting who you are and impacting how you feel is also a huge one, because our environment plays such a big role as to like how safe we feel, how relaxed our nervous system feels, how um just like open on a bodily level we are able to feel. So I hope that helps. If anyone has any other questions, we have a little bit of time left. Yeah, I think it's just, yeah, making that time, those buffer zone rituals. I'm going to reinforce that buffer zone rituals. It's like, how can we create the space between the space, right? The space between the thing, the space between the appointments, the space between, and the space between, the liminal space, like the space between like ovulation and luteal is also interesting. The space between like um when you're kind of just coming out of your menstrual phase and you're like just entering your follicular. Also, like these spaces between can be really beautiful, and to just allow ourselves to exist in the space between, not to try have to like do something or be or um the liminal space is so powerful. Like I was speaking to friends about this the other day, like when you take plant medicine and you're coming down from an experience, from a journey, from a trip, but you're not 100% sober yet, but you're not 100% in the trip yet. And that's kind of like this magical space where we can be more connected to the ethereal, to God, to spirit, to the earth, to the spirit realm, right? Yeah, buffer zone. I like literally just came up with this concept like literally yesterday. I didn't even know. It just downloaded. Yes, Cam, feel free to unmute yourself.
Um, I just wanted to say, like, can you hear me? Is it
Yes.
working?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure. Um, I really love this kind of work. I think it's so special and like important, and I have like such a big, like, I resonate so much with it. And like I said in the chat earlier, I'm on day one of my cycle now, but I wasn't supposed to start my cycle for another 2 weeks. And I spontaneously started this morning after a womb healing session last night. And I just want to know, because I don't know much about it yet, what that kind of means and why it would have happened. Like, is it just from the healing? Is it from like why did that happen? So,
Amazing question. I love this question. This is deeply related to the fact that the womb is a sponge. The womb stores all our unprocessed emotions and shit, and like even energy that we take on from other people, right? Things that we absorb from other people, it's all stored in the womb, because the womb receives life through feeling, okay? And so often when we have our bleed come before the predicted time, it means that there was a deep release that was needed. And so the deep emotional release of bleeding, because bleeding isn't just a physical release, it's an emotional release, it's a spiritual release, it's a cathartic release. Like I said, it's a miniature ego death, it's a spiritual death. And so when our periods come early, it means that there is there is need for a release right fucking now. And the body is so intelligent. Like the body is so intelligent. So just trust your body over every other thing. Because if you start bleeding, that is divine alignment. Like your body needed that release right now, not in 2 weeks' time, like right now. And so yeah, it's that release, it's the expression, it's the letting go. It's like whatever came up and was shifted in your womb healing session last night, now your body's like, okay, I need to release this. And so it's like whatever came up, I encourage you to work with the emotions that are coming up for you during this bleed, and how can you make space for them on a deeper level, and also how can you really just like get real with like, what am I releasing? What is moving through me? Can you get clear? Can you write it down? Maybe you want to do a little burn ritual where you write down everything you're releasing and you give it to the sacred fire, and you take the ashes and you go give it to the earth, and it allows for this beautiful composting of energy, this recycling of energy. Yeah, and feeling the need to release with gratitude. Thank you, Margaret. Feeling the release with gratitude. Yeah, does that make sense? Cool, cool. Thank you, Cam. Thank you for your question. Freya, please go for it. Unmute yourself, babe.
Yeah, no, just a quick one on, I guess, the biology more. So the menstrual phase, for example, my last cycle, I only bled for 3 days. So as soon as the bleeding stops, are you then into the next phase, or is it pretty consistent that you will be in the menstrual phase, but you might not bleed for that whole time? Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. I think it's safe to say that when you start bleeding, you're out of your menstrual phase.
Okay.
Yeah, so it depends. Like if you're spotting, that's something else. So, but if you're having like a consistent flow for 3 days and then
Yeah.
you stop, you're out of your menstrual phase. So yeah, different people's phases will be different lengths, and that's when it comes to that customizing the cyclical living to your cycle, to your life. I also don't bleed for longer than 3 days. A shortening cycle can also a shortening cycle can also be a indicator of like you doing deeper healing work, you know, and you don't always need to be, it can be an experience of that, you know, we don't always need to be bleeding for 5 days straight. It's like the more healing work we do on our body, the more emotional release that we have, the shorter our cycle is going to get, because there's less energy to release. Often women that experience really heavy, long bleeding, it's because there's a buildup of emotional trauma that needs to be released, right? And that's what like the heaviness of the bleed represents. So if your bleed is shortening, if it's getting lighter, these are all indicators that you are healing on a deep, deep level, and that your womb is balancing itself out, and it doesn't need to be purging so much at a time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's really, really fascinating. Like, because normally I bleed for about 5 days. So then last time it was like only 3. Interesting, but that makes so much sense. Thank you.
Oh, yay, yay. Anyone else got any questions? Kayla, do you have anything to say, my love, before we close up?
Hey, sorry, I lost connection there for a second. Been a bit of a keyboard warrior because I'm worried that it uses up all the data. But I was just gonna say, on the note of like periods starting early and everything, I've actually noticed like the last couple of times that it has happened. Like if I'm starting earlier than normal, it's normally when I've had particularly bad PMS symptoms the week before, and it's almost like my whole nervous system, my whole body is in tune and saying like, okay, this is enough now. This just needs to get out. And then it comes and it's like within one day, my emotional states, my nervous system state, like everything just completely changes, and it's such a turning point. Yeah, and it's only something I've been paying attention to over the last few months or so, because like recently PMS symptoms have been getting worse. For reasons I don't know, but you know, they can be due to everything, anything. So yeah, I'm finding that it's more and more important to pay attention to cyclical living and having
So
sisterhood in
important.
it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that. It's so important we make talking about these things normal, right? And we make these conversations normalized, and we make talking about our periods and, like, just for the sake of our future daughters, so that they don't feel like they have to hide and, like, feel shame around these conversations. And yeah, it's so beautiful what you said, because, like, the body is just so intelligent.
Mm.
And if there's anything that I can encourage you to, is just trust the wisdom of your body. Like, the wisdom of your body knows so much, knows so, so, so much.
Intuition.
Yeah, and
It's
your
huge.
intuition. Trust your intuition over everything else. Okay, Cam, thank you so much, love. Thank you for being here. Your intuition knows so much. Trust your intuition. Your intuition is your guiding light, your shining star. And the wisdom of your body is going to echo your intuition, because your intuition comes from your body. That's the things people always like, how do I tell if it's my intuition or if it's in my head? It's like, babe, your intuition is coming from your body. It's the first voice. It's the first initial gut instinct that comes through. It's like the fear is going to be the part of you that second guesses and overthinks and, like, should I or should I or which way? But the intuition comes first always. So yeah, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for those watching on the replay. I appreciate all of you. Please feel free to reach out to me via Instagram DM if you're interested in delving deeper into your womb story, how I can help you heal your PMS, heal your cramps, heal everything. Please feel free. My one-to-one calendar is available. I'm taking clients. And if you're interested in liberated womb, also please reach out to me. We start 15th of May. And you have 5 days until early birds. So thank you and love to you all. Bye bye.